The approach from Tony Maroney, the $50,000, the plan, all of it. And instead of killing Sam, instead of disappearing him into the river, Bumpy had let him walk into this room and pull that trigger. Let him reveal himself to 300 witnesses. Let him destroy his own reputation, his own honor in front of the entire community. Sam's gun clattered to the floor. His legs gave out. He sank to his knees. "I'm sorry, God. Bumpy, I'm sorry, my daughter. I know about your daughter, Bumpy."
Interrupted. His voice was still quiet, but it carried through the silent room. "I've known for 6 months. You think I don't take care of my people?" Bumpy reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. He dropped it on the table. "Keisha's medical bills, all of them, paid in full this morning. There's also a check in there for $5,000 for your family for whatever you need." Sam's eyes filled with tears. But why didn't you tell me?" "Because I needed to know,"
Bumpy said. "I needed to know if you'd chosen money over loyalty, if you'd chosen their 50,000 over our brotherhood." He paused. "Now I know." Bumpy stood up. He was not a tall man, 5'10", but in that moment he seemed 10 feet tall. "You're gonna leave Harlem tonight. You're gonna take your family and you're gonna disappear. I don't care where, but if I ever see your face again, if I ever hear your name again, there won't be a second chance. Do you understand?" Sam nodded, tears streaming down his face. "And Sam," Bumpy's voice dropped even lower, "when the Italians ask you what happened here tonight, you tell them exactly what you saw. You tell them Bumpy Johnson knew. You tell them he's always known. You tell them they can't buy loyalty in Harlem. And you tell them if they ever try something like this again, I won't be this merciful." Sam stood on shaking legs, picked up his useless gun, and walked out of Lennox's lounge. He would leave New York that night and never return. The last anyone heard, he was working construction in Detroit, a broken man carrying the weight of his betrayal for the rest of his life. After Sam left, Bumpy turned to face the room. 300 people stared at him in silence. They'd just witnessed something impossible. They'd watched a man try to assassinate Bumpy Johnson, and they'd watched Bumpy turn that assassination into a lesson. "Let me make something clear," Bumpy said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. "The Italians think they can buy us. They think they can divide us. They think they can take Harlem because we're poor, because we're black, because we don't matter." He picked up his cognac glass. "They're wrong. Harlem isn't for sale. It never was, it never will be. And anyone who thinks they can change that, anyone who thinks they can walk into my neighborhood and buy my people, they're gonna learn what Big Sam just learned. We're not the ones who need protection. They are." Bumpy raised his glass. "To Harlem and to loyalty that can't be bought." 300 people raised their glasses to Harlem. The jazz band started playing again. Conversations resumed. Within minutes, it was as if nothing had happened, except everything had happened. Word of that night spread through New York's underworld like wildfire. By morning, every mobster from Boston to Baltimore had heard the story. Bumpy Johnson had known about the hit for 3 weeks. He'd let it play out. He'd made a traitor reveal himself in front of 300 witnesses, and he'd done it all without spilling a drop of blood. The 5 families called an emergency meeting the next day. Frank Costello was furious, not at Bumpy, at Tony Maroney for failing. But Carlo Gambino saw something else. "We can't beat this man," Gambino said quietly. "We've tried everything. Force didn't work, money didn't work, turning his own people didn't work. Every time we move against him, he's already seen it coming. So what do we do? Costello demanded.
Gambino lit a cigar. We leave Harlem alone. We focus on Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx. But Harlem belongs to Bumpy Johnson, and trying to take it from him is just going to cost us more money and more men. It was the first time the 5 families had ever backed down from a territorial dispute, but they had no choice. Bumpy Johnson had proven something that night at Lenox Lounge. He wasn't just a gangster. He was a strategist, a chess player who saw 10 moves ahead, and you don't play chess
with a grand master unless you're ready to lose. The story of Big Sam's betrayal became legend in Harlem. People told it for decades, passed it down to their kids, their grandkids. It became more than just a story. It became a lesson about loyalty, about staying 3 steps ahead, about what real power looks like. Word spread fast through the underworld. By the next morning, every mobster from Boston to Baltimore knew what happened, and the 5 families, they called an emergency meeting. Carlo Gambino said, "Something that day that nobody expected. We leave Harlem alone. We can't beat this man." It was the first time the Italian mob ever backed down without a shot being fired. Bumpy Johnson lived another 10 years after that night. He died in 1968, not from a bullet, but from a heart attack. Ironically, in the same Lenox Lounge where he'd faced down Big Sam. But here's the thing. Bumpy proved something that night that most people miss. The most dangerous weapon isn't a gun. It's knowing what's coming before your enemy does. It's turning their plan into your victory. It's playing chess while they still learning checkers. Big Sam took $50,000 from the mob. He left New York with nothing but shame. And Bumpy, he went back to his corner table, finished his cognac, and kept being the king of Harlem. Look, if this story got you hyped, do me a favor, hit that like button real quick. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We dropping these Bumpy Johnson stories every day. And trust me, the next one is even crazier. Drop a comment and let me know, could Bumpy have handled this differently? Would you have let Sam walk out alive? And hey, turn those notifications on because next week we're telling the story of how Bumpy Johnson walked into Lucky Luciano's office unarmed and walked out with the deal of the century. You don't want to miss that. Remember, in Harlem, respect wasn't given, it was earned. And Bumpy Johnson earned his every single